Pokemon Emerald Rogue, a new ROM hack by Pokabbie that puts a fresh spin on the franchise, turning Pokemon into a roguelike. This means routes, trainers, items, and encounters are procedurally generated and will be unique to each playthrough. As soon as I saw this game, I thought it would lend itself perfectly to the hardcore Nuzlocke format. There's already an imposed level cap before important fights, and Pokemon automatically get released after fainting. So all I had to do was add the first encounter per route rule and not use healing items in battle. Before jumping in, let me know which Gen 3 Pokemon is your favorite. Maybe it'll be on our team. Also, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you want to see more. With all that said, let's get into it. The game begins in what's called the Hub World, where Scott tells us to talk to Professor Birch. By the way, I'm CGA 3 because this was my third attempt of the night. Birch tells us he caught 3 Pokemon for us to choose a starter from, and after looking at our options of Omanite, Trapinch, and Houndour, I decide Houndour is probably the best of the 3. I grab the Pooch and name him Isaac and then head off to start our adventure. In the Hub World, there's also a configuration lab where you could do things like turn on and off EVs, over-leveling, and EXP all, which eliminates grinding. You can also change the difficulty and item drop rates between 3 options. I decided to keep everything standard for this run. Now we get the quest log from Scott, which will grant rewards between runs to help players get through the game. Every time I lost, I completely reset because I wanted to do this completely from scratch. Now on to floor 1. Basically, you pick a path to follow and can have different types of rooms, whether they be routes, marts, trainers, or game shows, are all randomly generated. I decide to start with a tough wet route, which will have less options of wild Pokemon and more trainers. To show a bit of how this game works, we immediately find some heal balls and then encounter a ladybug, which we catch easily. You can also see that Houndour jumps right to level 10. If you're lucky, routes will even have berries that you can grab to use throughout your run. After completing a route, you end up at the next room on the path you chose. Moving to our first Mart rest stop, I quickly realized this game is about resource management. It's important to battle trainers for money and then use that money wisely to buy items, healing items, TMs, and use move tutors effectively. There's also this guy who offers a random trade which I take and get a Rhyhorn for my Ladybug. Now that the mechanics are laid out, I'm mostly going to be covering the bosses of each floor and how I beat them. Since there can't be docs for this game, I decided to use some save states in later fights to gain information. If that invalidates the run in your mind, then so be it. Looks like our first gym battle is against Brawly. He actually ends up with a Makuhita even though leader's Pokemon are random as long as they keep the typing of that gym's original team. I lead Vampire the Murkrow, and after getting faked out, she hits a huge wing attack for a one-shot. Next is Machop, who barely survives the move and hits low sweep, which lowers my speed. Yeah, the AI is good in this game. I decide I need to sack something here, so it's goodbye to Houndour so Murkrow can come back in at full speed. Now Wing Attack takes out Machop and one more drops Mankey, giving us the win. We're also given the HM for Cut so we can explore more of any route with a cut tree as long as we have a Pokemon in our party that can learn the move. Before the next gym battle, I managed to add an Illumise and Girafarig to the team. I also paid $2,000 to teach Murkrow Drill Peck over Wing Attack and buy 2 Assault Vests for Rhyhorn and Murkrow. Gym number 2 ends up being Norman, who leads with Dunsparce. I charm the wannabe dragon twice as it drill runs, then Struggle Bug to lower its special attack as well. After setting up a wish, I bring in Rhyhorn, who eats up Drill Run. A crit Bulldoze almost gets the KO, but after one more Drill Run, Stomp gets the job done. Next is Porygon, whose Psybeam does decent damage, even through our vest. We fire back with Bulldoze for about 45%, and then I decide to swap back to our lead as the Polygon boosts its speed. I heal Legacy with Moonlight, but now Porygon Agility's up to +3 speed. As I'm about to start Struggle Bugging, the normal type reveals Recover, so this is going to take a while. Eventually, I bring in Girafarig and use Agility myself until I can outspeed the heal and Psybeam twice for the knockout. Next is Kecleon, so I stay in and use another Psychic type attack. We're hit with Feint Attack in return, which does more damage than I'd like it to, so now I go back to Illumise. I charm the Chameleon, which now starts going for special attacks, so after healing, it's time for Struggle Bug. With the typing change to Bug, I bring Murkrow into a Psybeam and then get the KO with Drill Peck. Our dad's ace is a Skitty, which is only able to fake our bird out before being massacred by a crit Drill Peck. Gotta love Super Luck. With a very exhausting second badge in hand, I catch a Rattata, which immediately evolves into Raticate. Unfortunately, the battle after evolving, it dies to a high jump kick. I do manage to grab one of my favorite Gen 3 Pokemon next though, Spheal, and evolve her into Celio. And don't worry, she stays alive. Next I move tutor Psychic Fangs onto Girafarig and buy a muscle band for her and a scope lens for Celio. Gym Leader 3 is actually Watson, which should be okay. He leads Magneton against my Illumise, so I Struggle Bug off the bat for pretty solid damage. Steel Beam hits hard but leaves the cluster of magnets in range of one more Struggle Bug. Next is Plusle, who I outspeed for a Moonlight, as Life Orb Thunderbolt does about half our remaining health. I use one more and then swap to Rhyhorn, but the Pikachu clone actually anticipates the switch and uses Substitute. Some kind of hidden power comes out next and does about 60%, so after breaking the doll with Drill Run, it's back to Illumise. I'm guessing it's HP Water as we tank it pretty well and burn 2 more heals through T-Bolts before killing with Struggle Bug. Next is an Ampharos who does about 30 damage with its Bolt of Lightning as we use our final Moonlight. We Struggle Bug twice to get the Light Pokemon to -2 special attack, and after surviving Thunderbolt, our Wiki Berry brings us back to 46 HP. From here, it's 2 more struggles with a Wish Between before going to Rhyhorn to reap the benefits of another prayer. Focus Blast connected every time Ampharos used it, this time bringing us into the yellow, but we finally get the kill with Drill Run. Last is Electrode, and not knowing what this thing is gonna do, I swap to Illumise. Really? Another Life Orb, Watson? Signal Beam hits for half our remaining health, so our bug is only able to get 1 attack off before I decide to make a risky swap to Girafarig. Thunderbolt does about 30 damage and paralyzes us, but I need to stay in. Thanks to the special attack drop, our Giraffe survives Signal Beam and breaks through paralysis for a Muscle Band boosted Psychic Fangs kill. Now we finally get a full team with Backpack the Ninjask joining up. On the same route, Rhyhorn hits a high enough level to evolve into Rhydon. Then Celio evolves into Walrein, so we just got some major power upgrades. Starting with leader number 4, they get permanent terrain or weather to help their side of the field, so here's Tate and Liza with Psychic Terrain. Illumise Struggle Bugs their lead Lunatone as it rock polishes. Next turn, it actually has the audacity to use Power Herb Meteor Beam, popping our Wiki Berry as we hit another bug move. I swap into Hades now as Lunatone sets up for a second big rock attack. Girafarig takes around 60% and then connects Crunch to get rid of this menace. I bring Walrein in to eat Ice Beam from Starmie, but next turn a Life Orb boosted Grass Knot brings us pretty low. I wasn't able to restore PP before this fight, but luckily my last Body Slam is a crit which also paralyzes the Starfish. Now I bring in Backpack, who shrugs off Grass Knot and Sand Attacks while Starmie gets fully parried. After 2, I Swords Dance 3 times, dodge Ice Beam, and thanks to Speed Boost, nothing is gonna touch us. The Sea-Star and Chimecho both drop to +6 slashes, but surprisingly Slowking lives and hits a Psyshock which brings Ninjask into the red. Without hesitation, I click the move 2 more times, KOing the Royal Pokemon and the twins' last Mon, Hypno. I get blessed with our next encounter as Charizard is caught and can join the team. When you already have a full party, you actually need to release something to add a new member, so say bye to Vampire. I buy an Expert Belt which I give to Charizard and then jump right into our battle with Flannery. I led Illumise, which I realize is dumb because 3 of the 4 remaining leaders are super effective against her, so it's an immediate switch to Rhydon to tank Lava Plume. Next turn, Earthquake gets an unnecessary crit for a kill, and the Fire leader sends out Blaziken. I bring in our newest member as the Fire Chicken fails a Protect. After guarding itself next turn, it hits a Life Orb boosted Fire Blast, bringing us down to nice. Then a super effective Air Slash gets the kill. For Rapidash, it's back to Rhydon, who gets tickled by Flare Blitz. I got super lucky as I see a high horsepower miss, which I wasn't expecting Rapidash to have, but then an Earthquake punishes for a quick kill. Next is Houndoom, who fires off some kind of hidden power, but with 53 HP left, Rhydon claims another victim. I'm not sure if we survive an attack from Arcanine, so I swap to Hades as the Ace protects. Then we actually outspeed for a Thunder Wave and take big damage from a crit Snarl. I go back to Rhydon anticipating another, but it's actually a sun-boosted flamethrower, which we live on 3. Thanks to the para, we outspeed, and for good measure, we get a critical hit Earthquake to earn our 5th badge. On the next floor, I decide to enter a game show room and am absolutely gutted as Backpack is forcibly traded away from us. I got a Ghastly, which isn't bad as long as I can actually get Gengar. In the next room, she evolves into Haunter, and then I'm able to buy a Link Cable, which when held and leveled up will get us that sweet Gen 1 Ghost. Battle 6 is with Winona, who sends in a Murkrow as I go to Hades. After Thunder Waving, the Crow gets a Tailwind off, so they've got speed on their side. I swap to Dawn, who after getting Tormented and Sucker Punched, KOs the lead with a crit Aurora Beam. Butterfree is next, whose Hurricane confuses us as we break through to connect Body Slam and paralyze the bug. I try to rest but hit myself, and after a full paralysis on the other side, I bring in Lamb. Hurricane does good damage on the swap, but Butterfree never stood a chance against Flamethrower. Pelipper on the other hand definitely does, so I run straight back to Girafarig, who's scalded and burned by the Pelican. Sadly, after all our time together, I decide I need to use a Thunder Wave and sack my Giraffe. At least he went out swinging. I go to Gengar and Hex, but the bird has a Focus Sash. After a Tailwind and a Protect, we still outspeed, so one Shadow Ball is all it takes to knock the Water Bird out. With Delibird out next, I decide this is the perfect opportunity to regain some health on Walrein, so I swap her into a Destiny Bond and rest. As the spam starts, I Aurora Beam, which isn't strong enough for the kill, but this Santa Bird won't give up. I swap to Charizard, and I'm not sure why, but the Penguin switches to Rapid Spin, so next turn a Flamethrower takes it down. Last is a Gligar, and I go to Dawn as the ground type tries to roost. Now it just takes a 4 times effective Aurora Beam to kill. That one was dedicated to Hades. Rest in peace, my friend. His replacement ends up being Eden the Hirayama, and then I buy an Ice Beam TM for Walrein. Now I absolutely throw and teach Eden Smelling Salts when I meant to give him Wake Up Slap. Just remember that. I even spend money on a nature-changing mint for him. Then I buy a pair of Wise Glasses and finally get an Eviolite so Rhydon can pop off even more. I also buy a Spell Tag for Gengar and realize there's a Name Raider so I can rename my Trademons to Cursed and Just King. For Leader 7, we finally draw Roxanne, who leads with a Corsola against our Walrein. I brine for almost no damage as the bunch of Coral toxics me. After one more surge of water droplets, I decide to rest before toxic damage really starts to build up. I fish for a Para with Body Slam, but after a Scald burn on our wake up turn, I'm forced to rest again. Corsola continues spamming Scald, and after half my HP is gone, I wake up only to rest a 3rd time. Now I finally decide to bring in Hirayama, who gets burned, but thanks to Guts, it's time to sweep. I click Smelling Salts thinking it's Wake Up Slap, and to my surprise, I get a not very effective message. After realizing that I'm a big dummy, I close combat for the kill, and Roxanne sends out Kabutops. I'm not positioned well to deal with this thing, so I let it take Hirayama down with Liquidation. Now I put my faith in a Cursed Hypnosis, which thankfully connects on the Fossil. From here, Hex is a one-shot, and then Shuckle hits the field. Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Roxanne swaps out to Craterly, who's forced to take our next Hypnosis. Hex procs its Citrus Berry, and next turn I Dream Eater to get some recovery. Now the Root Fossil wakes up and uses Stealth Rock, which could be an issue. I accidentally Hex instead of Shadow Ball, so Gengar is forced to eat a Rock Blast before getting her next KO with the Ghoulish Orb. I'm expecting another Shuckle bait, so I go straight for damage, Shadow Balling Magcargo, and getting a special defense drop. One more gets the knockout, and at 16 HP, I have one last chance at a Hypnosis before I'm forced to switch. The Rock Leader again swaps her Shuckle in and out as we're able to put Nosepass to sleep. This allows Cursed to eat some Dreams to get back to a comfortable amount of health. Against Shuckle, I miss Hypnosis, but it tries for Final Gambit, so I'm guessing it doesn't have a way of touching me. Next turn, I manage to get it to sleep and Dream Eater it, but a red card forces Gengar out to Charizard, who takes half damage from Craterly's rocks. Regardless, I Heat Wave for a bit as Shuckle wakes up, offing itself with Final Gambit for our victory. I decide to take a path that only has a powerful static encounter, which ends up being Latias. I try to catch the dragon for a while, and then remember that I don't use legendaries in hardcore Nuzlocks, so I kill it. Unfortunately, this means we're a Pokemon short for our battle with the 8th Gym Leader Juan. He leads Kingdra against my Gengar, and after trading misses, I realize I'm slower. I swap to Walrein, who dodges Hydro Pump, then after tanking 2 and hitting Body Slams, I go to Illumise. After being hit by one more, that's all 5 PP, so I Struggle Bug and the dragon struggles, so it must be choiced. It also procced our Mago Berry, so Legacy is close to half health. I don't have a clean switch against Mantine though, so unfortunately this is the end of the line for our healer. Now I go to Gengar to try to land Hypnosis, but the Stingray sets up a sub. Scald does decent damage to our Ghost, but we keep the pressure on with Shadow Balls as Mantine continues substituting. We catch the flying type healing with Roost, so we're able to put it to bed. I decide to swap to Dawn and go for a rest to get back to full health, but right before we can, the Manta Ray wakes up and hits Hurricane, leaving us at 6 HP and confused. Our Walrein has her wits about her as she's able to heal up instead of taking herself out in response. Mantine scalds and roosts until we wake up and start landing some body slams. I go back to Cursed on a roost and now the sub game starts again. Eventually we catch Mantine roosting, then Dream Eater twice with a Hex Between for the knockout. An immediate Hypnosis on Dewgong is negated by its hydration ability, and then I click the move again, forgetting weather is permanent. Next turn I Shadow Ball as the Sea Lion uses Perish Song. A second Shadow Ball gets the kill, and then a Suicune hits the field. Didn't know we were using legendaries, Juan. I miss Hypnosis as the dog Tailwind, so now I'm forced to bring Dawn into a Snarl. Next turn Scald burns her, but at least we get a Body Slam Para in retaliation. I rest up as Tailwind peters out, but naturally another goes up right away. I wake up and check Brine's damage in the rain, then opt to spam Body Slam as a Citrus Berry heals the legendary up a bit. After resting again, we get a Brine kill, but the opponent does have Tailwind on his side. Quagsire doesn't scare me at all as Juan just gets a Scald off before dropping to 2 Ice Beams. Last is Wailord, who protects on my first Body Slam, then substitutes after taking my last. I Ice Beam, but it isn't enough for a break, and now the whale sets up recovery with Aqua Ring. After realizing that Wailord is only protect and sub stalling, I feel safe going back to Cursed. I Hex to break 2 subs, then Shadow Ball, finally earning our last gym badge. I was expecting to have to go straight into the Elite Four, but there's actually another floor between each member so I can get some more encounters, heal up, and buy items. I catch a Dewgong now, which is so much more important than I realized at the time. I also catch another Rattata since it was a static encounter. I know species and dupes are usually banned in hardcore Nuzlocks, but I didn't have an opportunity to re-roll this encounter, so I took it. Before our first E4 member, I bought a Rain Dance TM for Dewgong and begrudgingly removed Gengar's Shadow Ball for Thunder. Yup, going for a Rain team. And we're against Glacia and her Ice types first. She leads a Sneasel as I send out our newly caught Dewgong. After a fake out, we're hit with the weak beat up and switch the weather to rain. Now we Aqua Tail, but Glacia's lead is holding a Focus Sash, so it sticks around for one more turn. To conserve PP, I go for Ice Beam, but the Ice Master swaps to a Lapras. I decide to make a switch myself to Gengar, and then Glacia goes to Regice. I guess this confirms that the 8th Gym Leader Anon will have legendaries. Cursed outspeeds the Golem and hits Hypnosis. Then we fire off 3 Hexes to get our first KO of the battle. Sneasel comes back, but I don't want to waste Hex PP or risk a missed Thunder, so I swap back to Shoddy King. Taunt means I can't reset Rain, so I go to Walrein, who tanks beat up. After being taunted again, we kill with Body Slam and Lapras returns to the field. I'm glad I didn't set Rain up because after slamming into the Dino, it misses a Thunder. I go back to Cursed on a Protect and then land another Hypnosis. Hex just isn't enough to take Lapras down, so next turn I use Dream Eater to finish the job. Delibird comes out next and Icy wins as I bring in Charizard. Even at -1 speed, we go first and Heat Wave brings the Penguin down to its Sash. I carelessly slash here, forgetting my battle with Winona, and at -2 we're slower than the bird, so we pay the price as it Destiny Bonds. At least I don't think Charizard will be a huge loss against the Hoenn League. I bring Dewgong back into Rain Dance as Piloswine Rock Slides for good damage. We Aqua Tail for a one-shot, leaving Glacia with only her ace Articuno. I bring Walrein into a Freeze Dry, which she tanks fairly well. After seeing Ice Beam's damage, I decide to swap to Gengar and see how she handles the bird. Unfortunately, we get frozen on the next attack, and then Articuno roosts to heal herself. As we defrost, we land Hypnosis, so this one's as good as wrapped. I Thunder, then Dream Eater to take the legendary down and get our first Elite Four victory. Also, since Rattata wasn't at the level cap, he now evolves into Raticate. Our replacement for Charizard ends up being Ampharos, so this Rain team is really coming together. After buying a Magnet for our newest member, I unfortunately didn't run into any heal rest stops. I burn some max potions and ethers where I need to, and now it's time to see who our next opponent is. Okay, I think my team matches up pretty well against Sydney. I lead Rhydon as he sends out Houndoom. After taking around a third from Hidden Power, we easily drop the dog with Earthquake. Now Crawdon hits the field as I swap Dawn into an Aqua Jet. The Crustacean continues using the priority move, so I'm assuming it's Choice Banded. After a few body slams, we get the KO and Sydney sends out a Shiftry. I swap to Ampharos as we see the grass type take in Sunlight. It outspeeds and hits a Life Orb boosted Solar Blade as we Volt Switch into Dugong. I know Shoddy King outspeeds, so I have no qualms about clicking Ice Beam for a knockout. Next is a T-Tar, so after Rain Dancing to override its Sandstream, I swap Rhydon into Rock Tomb. At -1 speed, we're still faster than the Pseudo Legend as one Earthquake takes it out. The 5th Pokemon is Absol, which misses an Iron Tail as we destroyed the Disaster Pokemon with Hammer Arm. Last is an Umbreon, which protects turn 1 and then wishes, surviving our Hammer Arm in the red. However, before it can regain that health, Just King survives a foul play and gets the win with another drop of the fist. Literally nothing happens before our next battle aside from getting a heal, so let's take on Phoebe. We're a little underleveled to start because I didn't have any battles, but as her Gengar protects, we get our reign started. Dugong is then taunted as her Aqua Tail brings the ghost down to its sash. Another failed taunt means we can Ice Beam and get our first kill totally free. Next is Bayonet, who drops to Aqua Tail, but then the Ghostmaster reveals Shedinja. I bring Raticate in, who's unaffected by Shadow Sneak, and then set up Swords Dance as the bug baton passes to Dusclops. I bring my attack to +4 as the Mummy sets up Trick Room. Good play. Then after spamming Ally Switch, 2 of my Sucker Punches fail and I swap to Zen Headbutt for the kill. Shedinja returns to the field, so I try to Sucker Punch, but it's another pointless baton pass, this time to Sableye. Sucker Punch finally hits a target for a KO, and then with our friend returning, I use Facade instead of wasting my last Sucker Punch. As I thought, it's another baton pass to Phoebe's last Pokemon, Misdreavus. Now she continues to swap and baton pass between her 2 Mons, so Raticate literally can't do anything. I switch Gengar in on the next baton pass, then Hex twice for the last 2 kills, only being hit by a Shadow Sneak between our attacks. No changes between battles, but at least this time I know we'll be up against Drake, so I put Walrein at the head of my party. Of course he leads Kingdra, the one dragon in this game that isn't weak to ice. I body slam twice as the dragon Hurricanes, but after being confused by its second, I decide to swap to Ampharos. He only takes about 60 damage from the flying type move, and after another we Volt Switch for a kill and swap to Dugong, who's met by Flygon. The ground dragon outspeeds us for a Stone Edge, which thankfully doesn't crit as our retaliatory Ice Beam gets the Oko. Next is Rayquaza, probably the best Pokemon in the game. I swap Rhydon in, who shrugs off 2 Dragon Ascents to destroy the Skylord with Stone Edge. My heart sinks as Dragonite fires off Earthquake, but Eviolite Rhydon is so bulky. Our Stone Edge leaves the OG dragon in the yellow, but now I need to switch or die, so I send in Rogue. Thanks to Hustle, she misses Sucker Punch, so a pair of Earthquakes do her in, but at least it's a free swap to Gengar. We outspeed and Hex for a knockout, but then Drake sends out a Latias. Cursed manages to land her first Hypnosis, and then a single Hex is all it takes to kill. Last is Altaria, who survives our Sleep Hex combo, but next turn it just takes one more ghostly attack to finish off the Elite Four. Before the champion, we continue to get great luck encountering a Lantern. I thought this battle would be with Steven, but it's Wallace, which makes sense since this is Emerald. I led Dugong, but probably would have been better off with Lantern or Ampharos against Blastoise. I decide to safeguard turn 1 and then swap into Lantern, who even underleveled takes Dark Pulse well. The next flinches Skull, but with Perma Rain up, she thunders for 70% of the Kanto starter's health. Now Wallace swaps into Quagsire, so that was a wasted turn, but we outspeed and Scald for 50% and a burn. This allows our Anglerfish to survive Earthquake, then take the ground type down with a second Scald. Since this is the champion battle, I don't mind letting Lantern get taken out by Lapras's Freeze Dry after hitting a big Thunder. Now I bring Ampharos in, whose Thunder is boosted by the Magnet, and he one-shots the Ice type. Blastoise flinches us with Dark Pulse, but that just delays the inevitable as the turtle goes down to our Electricity. Next is Gyarados, but the champ wastes its life D-dancing instead of attacking as it drops to the 4 times effective Bolt. Golduck's Cloud9 actually turns off the weather, but after a weak Ice Beam, we still connect Thunder for a kill. Funny enough, Wallace's last Pokemon is a Lantern of his own. I'm guessing it has Volt Absorb, so after being hit by Ice Beam and Light Screening, I check Dragon Pulse's damage. After one more, I swap to Dawn, who's basically unaffected by Lantern's Scald. Now it just takes 2 Body Slams through a Volt Switch to win this battle and be crowned champion of Emerald Rogue. Wait, there's one more battle? Wish I hadn't sacked Lantern now. I do get a chance at one more encounter though, and catch Sandslash, who's decent I guess. Now let's see who this final battle's against. Steven Stone. He leads Mawile as I send in Gengar. The Deceiver Pokemon fails a Sucker Punch as I put it to sleep turn 1. Now I'm actually thrilled that I got Sandslash since he's super effective against Steel. I Swords Dance once as Mawile wakes up and misses Play Rough. After getting to +4 attack and taking half damage from the Fairy move, it's time to go on the offensive with Earthquake. Steven's next Pokemon is Jirachi, but luckily it misses Heart Stamp and also goes down to a +4 EQ. Aggron dies to the same, and then Latias hits the field, which isn't a Steel type. I forgot this thing has Levitate, so after it misses a Draco Meteor, our Tremors don't touch it. I don't want to bring anyone into the Dragon move, so I let our Headshot go down for the free switch to Dugong. Shoddy King takes the -2 Meteor well, but Ice Beam isn't able to kill. At -4, the Dragon's attack brings us into the yellow as we finally get the knockout with another Frosty Beam. Skarmory is next, so I take the opportunity to Rain Dance, knowing that this will be the end for Dugong. Now that we've changed the weather, I go to Under, who thunders the Steel Bird after it sets up spikes. Thanks to Sturdy, Skarmory survives, but we got the Paralysis and now Outspeed for a Volt Switch KO. Wanting to outspeed whatever's last, I go to Gengar, which ends up being a great choice against the former champ's Lugia. We miss our first Hypnosis as the legendary tries to Roost, then on turn 2 the diving Pokemon goes to bed. We Hex for half damage, but a 1-turn Sleep and Roost put us back at square 1. Curse connects her next Hypnosis, and this time Hex straight up kills. With that, we're finally shown the Hall of Fame screen and are officially the winner of the Pokemon Emerald Rogue Hardcore Nuzlocke. After beating the game, you're gifted a shiny Magikarp, and then you unlock an additional room in the configuration lab. Here, the dev Pokabbie says that this is the expansion room where currently we can enable Megas and Z moves and add generations of Pokemon to our runs, so instead of just 1 through 3, we can encounter everything through Gen 8. This game is incredibly fun. I can't praise Pokabbie enough for what she created here. After playing Pokemon the same way for so many years, this felt like a totally new experience while also having the familiarity of the mainline games. The run was fairly quick, and now that I have more customization options, I'd love to do another. Let me know if you guys want to see that. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.